This new channel, I'll mostly do voiceovers, but occasionally I'll do a video on face-to-face on the camera like this. So leave a comment in the comment section if you have any questions sports related, and I will answer them. Or just tell me what you had for breakfast. I'm interested to know. And it helps the algorithm. One of my favorite YouTube guys says that. Just, if you don't want to leave a comment, tell me what you had for breakfast. Anyways, I want to talk about hubris. Now, if you don't know what hubris is, it's an ancient idea that if you try to put yourselves on the level of the gods will throw you down to the ground. And I've been watching Steph Curry since he was approaching breaking Ray Allen's record. And since then, he's been in something of a slump. He's had a few good games, but for Steph Curry, he's in a major slump. And it could just be a slump. This happens. He's had slumps in the past. But there is an outside possibility. If you watch the lead up to him trying to break the record, there was a little bit of over trying going on, I think. He really wanted to break it. And we've talked about how when you want something, the wanting interferes with the doing. Okay, he kind of got away from the present moment a little bit, I think, personally. And then a second thing he did was, I don't know if you guys remember, before one of the games, he said, I think he needed 16 threes, and he said, well, maybe I'll just do it next game. And Steve Kerr said, yeah, it's certainly possible. Well, see, now you're crossing over that into that territory of like from supreme confidence, which you must have. I call it irrational confidence, very important. Curry has that. Into cockiness, into arrogance, into hubris. And when you cross it, it's a very thin line, but when you cross it, you got to be very careful, because those basketball gods tend to say, hold on, you don't control this game the way you think you might. Okay, we've blessed you. Don't drift over into that arrogance, cockiness, that part. You can be supremely confident, you can depend on us, but don't drift over into that, because now you're going to find that your mind can't quite focus the way it used to focus. You're over trying, you're pressing a little bit, and maybe he's taking the same shots, but there's like a pressure on the back of his mind. He's haunted, you might say, by comments he's made and by that the over trying. So what do we mean when we say basketball gods, sports gods? Are there really gods up there, looking down upon us? Wilt Chamberlain, looking at us, and all the great basketball, George Mikan looking down and saying, "You shall not do that." No, really, what happens is everyone within them has a sort of mechanism by which they allow themselves to be great. So one of the reasons you work so hard, you sacrifice so much to be good, is because it allows you psychologically to get greatness without feeling like you're getting something undeserved. There is always guilt and shame attached with getting something that's undeserved. So people sacrifice a lot in sports, so when it's time to perform, they don't feel guilty being great. They don't feel like they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, right? So like when you see Shaq dominate, and I love Shaq, when you see Shaq dominate, there's not as much joy and like feeling of exhilaration on his face that you get in someone like Kobe or Steph Curry, because he didn't have to work as hard. So you feel a little bit guilty about being that good just because of your size, right? Well, when you cross over from the high confidence, irrational confidence, into hubris, into that, you start to mess with what you deserve. You've sacrificed a lot, right? But have you sacrificed so much that now, on demand, you can go into a game and make 16 threes? And people expect that, right? Like you're starting to say, I'm almost like a god in this game. And I can break Ray Allen's record and break a single game 3-point record pretty much if I want to. Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of a choice because I don't do that all the time. Well, that puts a real strain on that balance of sacrificing greatness that's in every great player's mind. That level of sacrifice that is necessary for the part of our mind that won't allow us to be great without sacrifice. So we have this like built-in system that doesn't allow us to consistently reach great levels unless we feel like we're putting in the work. It's one of those things, if you want to get political, why some economic systems don't work, okay? People go crazy. You won't feel as good about the unearned, and at some point your performance will suffer. Self-sabotage, they call it, if you haven't put in the work. If you haven't put in the work, you're not going to consistently achieve greatness, okay? And so you can see players who don't put in the work to have great games, great seasons, do great for a while, but it doesn't last. And that's because you've messed up that balance. You've not put in enough sacrifice to allow that mechanism to work. The more work you put in, the more you feel like you deserve to be great, okay? But you can also think you deserve too much greatness. So the guy who doesn't work and performs well, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I don't really deserve this. I didn't do it. I just, he can puff himself up and say, I'm great. You saw what I did. But it doesn't last. It's not consistent. You can also put in a lot of work and then mess up that balance by saying, I can do whatever I want. I'm God on the basketball court. That's delusional. But it's a thin line. It's a very thin line between that irrational confidence Curry has to have and then stepping over into that hubristic, arrogant state. And I think maybe, I don't know, he's probably just in a slump. But either way, I've seen it happen a lot, stepping over into that hubristic state where the gods, which is just that part of your mind that wants a fair trade, like you work really hard, we're going to let you be great, but don't overstep your bounds. Upsetting that balance can lead to disaster, right? We see, if you go on YouTube, you can find like when trash talk turns wrong, right? You can that's why Conor McGregor was fascinating for such a long time, is he would talk so much trash and back it up. But there's an underlying thing there. The deal he made is, I'm going to talk this much trash, talk about how great I am, but it's part of marketing. So you're telling that part of your brain, listen, I don't really believe this. I'm a humble person. I'm going to bust my ass, right? I'm going to present to the world that I'm capable of knocking out Francis Ngannou. Conor probably thinks he, would say he could do that. He'll talk trash about anything. But he's made a deal with the subconscious saying, I'm saying this, I don't really believe it. You know what I mean? So there's a difference there of like a build up to sell a fight. So you see some guys who talk like that. I still cringe a little bit. When I see a guy that's, saying, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I am the best to ever do this, I think, okay, pump the brakes. You're starting to flirt too much with hubris. And that will ruin you big time. And it happens in a lot of other areas of life as well. People get too big for their britches. Right? We all love super confident people. But when you see someone start to act like they control the universe and they can do things on command that have never been done before, I think, ooh, you're playing with dangerous psychological fire there. Anyways, please like, subscribe for more mental training tips and tricks. Peace.